If you follow LA sports, well, you've probably seen the work of Jon Soohoo. He's photographed the city's most iconic sports moments for over 30 years, including this one of Kobe Bryant that's been on newsstands everywhere.
Could you ever have imagined how impactful this photo would become?
I never would have thought that. My whole process was just to make sure I didn't screw up the setup, screw up the lighting. I mean, this was, a pretty big portrait shoot. So I'm used to doing, just basic one light on each side and hit him with that way. But this was a totally different setup. I had my nephew with me and I had him be a sit-in. His name's Drew Bryant. And so the connection between my nephew and Kobe was pretty cool, because once I was doing my little setup when Kobe got there, my nephew and Kobe got to sit down and talk for a little bit. I had shot him before at the first press conference in the Forum, and then I shot him a portrait in front of the Forum Club, and that one's been used quite a bit also. But honestly, I'd never thought any of this stuff would even matter until like 30 years down the road, and after I'm already gone. I never thought he'd be going first.
Yeah, for sure. And when did you realize that photo, this particular one here that's on the ESPN cover, when did you find out or realize that this was going to be the cover of this entire issue that's a tribute to Kobe?
It was Andy Bernstein, who I worked for many years. He's the one who told me, because once this all went down, I knew it kind of had to be special, because it's not him dunking, it's not him looking, doing things that we normally does on a basketball court. It's completely different. And so I'm honored to be able to have my that's my image. But it was very touching, because it's just strange how the world works and how God works.
What do you think it is that makes you so successful?
I don't know. You tell me. I do my best to just be, cooperative, helpful. They'll take care of, anybody who needs anything to get done. I try to be as efficient and put out the most quality image possible. I try to be timely with it. I just try to finish off all the things I start. If I shot a player with his wife and kids, I turn around and give that a print to them the next day of that picture of them together, because I know, the service is definitely more important than what I'm shooting. If you're not taking care of your people, then you're not really helping yourself. And so you can shoot some of the greatest pictures in the world, but if you don't take care of who you took those photos for, then you're kind of losing the whole perspective of what this is all about.
How were you able to adapt to the immediacy of taking the photos and then kind of like beat the clock to get them on Instagram and Twitter?
My perspective is I'm trying to not look at everything for social media light. I'm looking at it for more historical purposes. So you'll notice it won't be just I'm trying not to get all tight images of just one guy in the frame, running against another guy. I try to get especially if it's a championship playoff or anything like that, I try to back up and try to get a little more depth, what the flavor is of the stadium. And so I try to do that in my photos as much as possible, just to show that it's not just another game. It has importance.
Now, make sure to catch part 2 of my interview with Jon next weekend.